So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Alistair Birt, the head pastry chef at Harrods, Annual Awards of Excellence 2009 Young Pastry Chef of the Year. Now, Alistair, I've read your LinkedIn biography, which is incredible. It's extraordinary to see how much you've achieved in your career. And I'll read you an extract, give you some background to your achievements. I hope you won't be blushing too much, but I'll go through what you've achieved in your career so far. It's in the first person because we've just lifted it directly. So alongside my culinary arts management degree, I underwent intense one-to-one training with Yolandi Stanley, MCA, who we heard from earlier. And I was selected to join the UK skills team, which competed in Canada in 2009. This culminated in me representing the UK at the arduous World Skills 4-day competition in Calgary, Canada, where I was placed 5th, the highest ever world place for a UK pastry chef, winning the coveted Medallion of Excellence. In addition to this, 2 gold medals at the Hotel Olympia, and gained 1st place in the Academy of Culinary Arts Annual Award of Excellence. And in 2012, I competed in the World Chocolate Masters Heat, where I won 3 out of 6 categories and came 2nd overall. And in 2013, I was awarded a coveted Acorn Award. In that year, I was also invited to China by the British Council to participate in a tour of schools and colleges promoting skilled labour. And in 2015, I competed again in the UK World Chocolate Masters Heat, where I won 3 out of the 4 categories and came 1st overall. Now, this led to me competing in the World Chocolate Masters in Paris against 19 other chocolate masters from around the world. You've spent 6 years, you 26, you joined Harrods as the head pastry chef, where you oversee a team of 24. It says here, in the past year, you've been developing and creating a chocolate shop concept that will have a live chocolate kitchen on the shop floor, making everything from pâte de fruits to truffles in front of customers' eyes. So as well as being involved with training the future world skills pastry competitors, you sit on the Annual Awards of Excellence Pastry Committee. So you've got a lot going on and you've been pretty busy over the last couple of years. So there's a lot of things for us to mine in our conversation today, and hopefully we'll draw some of this great background you've got. You've clearly got a very competitive spirit. You've been competing a great deal over the last decade or so. Where does this drive come from?
Okay, well, hi, Richard, and the rest of you. First off, I just want to say thanks for having me. And I can see some quite infamous famouses looking back at me, so please forgive me if I'm a little bit nervous. So yeah, competing. I was never really a competitive person. I never really did many sports as a child. I did some swimming and some football, but as soon as it lost its fun, I stopped. It was never my bag, but finding something that I was good at and interested and passionate about kind of propelled me into wanting to do this more seriously, and competing is one way of kind of expanding your horizons, how to elevate your skills in a faster, more focused way. And also from when I started cooking, maybe we can go a bit onto this a bit later. I was always told from my school and from my family that cooking wasn't a career that would lead you financial benefits. You'd be working long hours. So from an early age, I knew that if I was going to do this, I needed to be at the top of my game, and I needed to do this, and I needed to do this really well. So this was an avenue into that.
So that's kind of why, that's the sort of reason that you sort of decided to go into the Annual Awards of Excellence. What was the specific push at that point? Were you working at William Curley's at the time?
No, not then. I was doing my degree at UWL, working part-time in a bistro, where if you want to skip back a little bit, I had a place at Westminster University to do HR management when I left my A-levels. Luckily, a week or 2 weeks before I was supposed to start that, I decided I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to become a chef and do something I loved for a living. And luckily, we had a family friend who ran a restaurant in Burnham, and they got me a job for there. And I worked there for a year before I started my degree, and then worked part-time while I was doing my degree there, which was amazing. It's not like the fine dining kind of food that you guys all do, but it was such a great experience to step into a world of a kitchen, to kind of have that camaraderie, to learn how to do service, to learn just how to be in the kitchen. You've never been in the kitchen before. It's quite a different environment to be in. So that was fantastic, and luckily I managed to have that job while I was doing my studies. And while I was doing my studies, obviously I met Yolandi, and she was kind of the one who thought maybe I could do the Awards of Excellence.
Okay. And what was your experience of the awards? So how did you prepare for the awards, and what sort of training did you do? Because obviously there are specific things they're looking for.
Yes. And the kind of the older you get and the more competitions you do, and also I didn't know this at the time, but every competition has its own kind of things that it's looking for, its own rules, its own way of doing things, and you know, you have to learn how to do it for that competition. So yeah, it was my first kind of real experience of competing against other people, and when you find out the people you are competing against, it's kind of nerve-wracking. If you know, you see people from the Ritz, from Claridge's, from all these kind of really high established places, and you're little old you working in a bistro while you're doing your degree. So it was definitely.
Did you know any of them beforehand, or?
No, I never. No.
But I guess you knew them pretty soon once you were working.
Yes, yeah. We got to that, and you know, when you meet them, you realise they're just, you know, like chefs like you, and they're nice, and you can kind of get along. But yeah, luckily, I did a lot of training at work, and I did some training at the university as well. Practice run-throughs, you know, finalising the recipes. I can't remember what we did in the semi-final, but I know in the final I had to do hot cross buns. And one great thing was, I think it was Stefano came in after them, and he was like, "Who was on section 4?" I put my little hand up. He said, "Oh, they're the best hot cross buns I've ever tasted in my life." And that was like a really big, you know, that really felt
good morale boost.
Morale boost, yeah.
What was your centerpiece?
My centerpiece, we had to do an Easter themed centerpiece. And at the time, I was still hardcore into Harry Potter. I still am hardcore into Harry Potter as a 33-year-old man. That's fine. And I did like a goblet of fire egg opened up with a dragon coming out of it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good fun. I mean, that was one of my first showpieces, and you know, it's kind of the basic skills that you still, you know, that kind of got me through all the way to the World Chocolate Masters. You know, that's the things you learn there that you just kind of build on and build on and build on until you get to where you know, still loads to learn.
When you were making that dramatic centerpiece, were there any sort of edge of the seat moments, any sort of nervous moments with elements of it falling off, or?
No, I think on that day, I think we were okay. The weather was kind for us on that day. It wasn't too hot.
So you had no dramas to on that particular element. You didn't have any massive dramas to deal with.
Not that I can remember.
Well,
luckily, I've had dramas since that on that occasion. No.
Sure, sort of a high wire act. And when you found out you were the highest scorer, what did it mean to you?
That was insane. I didn't even expect that. I mean, I was just super glad to achieve the awards. I mean, that was my goal, and to be highest scorer was amazing. It wasn't even in my realm of possibilities when I did it. So to do it was amazing, and to have everyone, you know, in the industry, when you're in that room, when you're at the gala dinner and you see all the people around, and you kind of, oh crap, that's that, you know, he's from, you know, you recognize all these people you've seen on TV or you've heard about, and you know, it's really humbling when you're there and everyone comes to say hi and well done. I mean, it's a really, really great feeling. You kind of being welcomed into a family, almost into an industry that kind of.
So it was a sort of, in a way, I suppose we touched on it a bit. It's kind of an opportunity to know people in the industry. It's really being welcomed into the industry. So you're talking to people who are your peers, you're competing alongside, and
yes,
with them, but also you're looking upwards at some of the people that have gone ahead, some of the people that you can learn from. So it's a pretty valuable time, I'd imagine.
Massive. I think what's a really cool thing at the gala dinners is you put the card on the table of all the past winners, and you look through the card, you look through the book, and you see people in the pastry world like Nick Patterson, Graham Hornigold, even my old boss William Curley, and you think, wow, you're in that book now there as well, and you're part of it. And now I try and do my best to put names in there that work for me and continue that legacy.
Yeah.
But yeah, networking his networking ability is crazy. Yeah.
And as you're saying, a lot of it's just about everyone passing on the information and the knowledge that they've accrued over their career and passing it on. And now you're doing it yourself. You're making sure that chain of knowledge continues.
Yeah, and the industry stays alive.
Exactly. Especially in the current situation, you've got to keep on getting the talent through and supplying the industry. The other thing I was going to ask about also is the trip abroad. You know, obviously you spent as part of the award and the privilege of winning the awards of excellence. The 3 highest scorers are sent on this educational trip overseas, always courtesy of our sponsor, the Savoy Educational Trust. As far as I understand, you went to the Champagne region. Is that correct?
We did, along with John. He's there. I'm sure he'll remember a few more.
And it was to the fabled cellars of Champagne Mumm, as far as I
yes,
know. They're not obviously Paris.
Yeah, fantastic trip. 3 or 4 days, complete. I'd never seen anything like it. It was amazing. We got to Reims, stayed in the actual Chateau Mumm. Toured the cellars, did copious amounts of different tastings to all the different vintages. Opened champagne with swords in their garden. Had lunch in a windmill in the middle of the vineyards. It was like a little hill with a windmill, and then they have a little hosting space. We had lunch, which was just unforgettable. And obviously spending time with John, who I knew briefly from World Skills, but getting some anecdotes from him was always fun, and he always helped get the champagne flowing, no problem. And with the other people, getting to know Jack a little bit better, and Celine, was also really interesting. You kind of have at that time you're so focused on just pastry. So it's good to get conversations with other people from other parts of the industry.
And so learning about the sort of champagne, other wines and spirits, and it's usually something that's focused on the front of house team. So do you felt it helped you? It has sort of came across into the world of pastry as well. I mean, in terms of ingredients usage, in terms of pairings, and sort of putting things with.
Yeah, I mean, pastry is part of hospitality, isn't it? And I think everyone needs to have an understanding of every other role they do. And so you need to know what good looks like, is what I always tell my team, and what is always told to me. If you know what good looks like, then you can have an opinion. You know what's right and wrong, and it helps me in other ways. We do champagne and chocolate tastings, so you know what you're looking for in champagne to match a dessert with it, or to match a chocolate with it, etc. So you have that kind of knowledge to play with.
And as it wasn't as part of that, but when you came back, you then had I understand you did a day's work experience at Sir Hans Sloane's conching chocolate, and spent some time with Kristen Blumenthal's The Fat Duck. Do you want to talk a bit about those two experiences? Because they're obviously very separate, but there's quite a lot of information in both of those.
So I think all the pastry winners went to Sir Hans Sloane for a day, and we made some chocolate from bean to bar in about 8 hours, which I think is unheard of. And he was very much like, I'm not sure we'll be able to do this, but I want to show you the full process. And it was really interesting to see, how the roasting, the conching, what's added to it, how fast it takes, and also the amount of knowledge in there. It's such a different skill. It's like making wine or champagne. You wouldn't expect that person then to go and make whiskey or whatever. It's a very different ball game from what we do. It's not about making a cake. We use that product. It's making that raw ingredient. It's a very specific skill. To go and learn more about it was fascinating, and also just taste it in the different stages, which is very, very. You don't get that opportunity everywhere. To taste it half conched, 3/4, and to feel the grittiness being removed, and also the smoothness increasing throughout the conching time was amazing. And then the Fat Duck was definitely an experience. I'd never been in a Michelin star kitchen like that. Well, before that time, and walking into the Fat Duck was intimidating, but the guys there were so friendly, and it just opened your eyes up to what was possible, what is possible, and the best and probably the most memorable culinary experiences of my life was I was watching service. I wasn't allowed to touch anything during service, of course, but I was stood by the door watching everything go on and see how focused everyone was, and then halfway through the sommelier took me outside, and outside at that time, this is before the renovation, they had like park benches where they had staff lunch outside, and I sat out there at night time in the summer, and they brought me each dish, the whole tasting menu outside, so I sat by myself and ate each dish, and then sommelier would come and give me a little bit of the white flight with it. It was just like an unbelievable experience, and one I would never forget.
Well, I think it's the whole process of applying, going through the annual awards of excellence, meeting all those people, being exposed to the different approaches to it, then actually having, in your case, getting to the top, and then having that broadening experience alongside John Cousins, obviously chaperoning you there, and just learning a bit more about the industry in a wider manner. That must have been quite something.
No, definitely. I encourage my team to enter, and I encourage anyone to enter. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, and definitely, if you see it on a CV for someone, I know, as soon as I see it on someone's CV, I know I know their standard that they're working at, and I know what they're capable of. So it's a big tick for me on any CV that comes across my desk.
And now you sit on the pastry committee at the Annual Awards of Excellence, and you've trained many of your staff. I don't know how many you've trained, but I mean, you've got a number through there.
We do, yeah. We got Eleanor, who went through 2 years ago, who was the Young Pastry Chef of the Year, and then Bastian the year after. And when I was at Williams, we had 2 or 3 every year. So when I joined, at the end of my stint there as well, I was heavily involved in making sure that the people got through it as well.
Well, it's great to have that support from people like yourself who've been through it. They know what they're talking about. They can then present it to people and encourage them and help them along that path. The Awards of Excellence, the Annual Awards of Excellence, focuses mainly on classical styles of cookery and service. Why do you feel it's important to keep that alive amongst the broader hospitality? But we often focus on the classical side. Why do you think that's a particularly important thing to keep going?
No, it is important. It's important to keep the classical skill, but at the same time move it forward to make it meaningful for today's hospitality industry. But the classical skills never change, right? So people making choux 40 years ago are the same making choux today. There might be new techniques, new methods, but the techniques still need to be there, and the foundation cooking blocks that people use day to day won't change. Just different methods or different ingredients coming in and different styles of presentation, but the actual technique has to be there.
Once you've got the foundations, you can then apply that to your own creativity.
Yeah. You can be as crazy and as weird as you want after that, but if you can't cook properly, then it's just there's no point, right?
I'm just gonna look at some of the questions we've got here. We've got one from Emma Ryder here saying she'd like to ask, how has COVID impacted the kitchens at Harrods, and what do you look for in a chef? Question.
So how has it affected so obviously we locked down, first lockdown, no one came back. We locked down and the kitchens were empty. And then in lockdown volumes 2 and 3, we've done deliveries, food orders. So a lot of my team have been on furlough for most of the year, which has been a shame. It's adapted the way we do business. It's adapted how we're going to open up the restaurants when we reopen. So it's made us all a bit more flexible, I think, quick to make decisions, and make them more confidently quicker. Yeah. Unfortunately, we had to go through a restructure. So we had some redundancies in the summer, which was a real shame and something really difficult to go through for everyone involved. But now we're back on the rise and on the bounce, and hopefully brighter things to come. And what I look for in a chef, if I'm just looking for a commie, I'm just looking for a good attitude and someone with a good work ethic who's interested, who's asking questions, who's obviously passionate about what they want to do.
Good questions, I think. If anyone's got any other questions, continue dropping them in, because now's the time to ask them. I wonder if, John, if you've got any comments you want to make about the trip to France, any thoughts you've got on it?
Yes, indeed. I felt I'd won a prize myself, to be honest. It was really quite spectacular. Champagne Mumm treated us really like royalty. We were just so well looked after from the time we left London to the time we got back via Paris. We had a night in Paris as well. Champagne Mumm is a big house. It's beautiful. We stayed in Reims itself, right next to the production area, and in what was like a rather splendid boutique hotel. I remember the first evening we were out in the garden doing the sabrage, which is using the saber to open the bottles, a nice way to open the bottles. Really quite a memorable experience, and we were just treated so well. The windmill that was mentioned is a corporate venue that they bought from a man who had a mill on top of a hill where right in the middle of the top class vineyards. And we thought, oh, we're going to this restaurant called a windmill, so we're all looking it up on the internet. But no, we were in this huge place, looking on the veranda, looking out over the, and having a 5-course lunch with champagne with every course. This is after, by the way, doing a tutor tasting all morning with the same champagnes. So we were a bit cautious on how much we were drinking because it's very easy to pour it down. Mumm were a fantastic sponsor. Mumm is a very big organization. Look it up. It's Mumm Pinot Ricard. But also, I have to say the website is worth looking at because it's full of tips about wine and food pairing. And some beautiful images. Do have a look at it. It took me a while to orientate it because I've never seen a site that moved around when you moved your cursor. You'll know what I mean when you see it, but do go on. It's quite an education to read. Some of the pictures of dishes are quite beautiful. But yes, one thing I do remember, which I don't know if Alistair will, was standing outside a Michelin-starred restaurant looking in the window trying to tie ties.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, and going at the end of the last meal, going, please can we have anything but champagne? Please can we have some red wine and maybe a beer?
Oh
fantastic.
Yes, you can only drink so much champagne.
It sounds like an extraordinary experience. One of the as we sort of reach there, just what do you think makes pastry so important to the dining experience? Pastry in particular, your element of it, rather than as part of the whole.
For me, or for John? Yeah. To me,
well,
I mean, desserts, pastries where all the fun is, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's the everyone loves desserts. It's fun. It's the most creative. You can be the most experimental and kind of get away with it. I think it's really fun. I mean, I love telling people what I do. You know, you tell you're a tax man or a bank or whatever, everyone tells you to go do one. But if you're telling you're a pastry chef, you know, you're suddenly the star of the show. It's great. Pastry is fantastic. I think it's something in our culture that is building. It's not quite like on the European scale when you instead of you would bring a cake to someone's house for lunch, or there's not quite that tradition yet. But it's growing, and hopefully we can supply that growth.
Yeah, it's a growing thing, isn't it? I mean, I think you see more and more of it about. More of an interest, perhaps. Whereas in the continent, it's maybe a more natural part of the sort of landscape there. But it's becoming more. It's a growing area, I'd imagine.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and the boom in bakeries in London at the moment, and across the UK, and what they're doing in the bakeries, the vinagre is improving. The huge boom in sourdough over the last 5-10 years. The technique is there, the knowledge is there. And the hunger from the customers there as well.
I understand you're putting together a masterclass for us as well, so hopefully we'll get to see that pretty soon. Yeah,
I'm going to do a chocolate bonbon masterclass, but you can't redo that in one, so I'm going to have to edit it for you and put it all together for you.
Well, if you can do that and edit it, it's going to be great. And obviously, once we receive it, we'll put it up. So do stay tuned, everyone out there, and have a look on the website in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have it up. I think we're pretty much reaching the end now. I mean, well, let's just see if I've got any more questions. So I think I've got someone to admit here. I'd just like to say thanks very much for all your time and expertise. I think you've crammed a lot into your career so far. lot of awards, a lot
Yes.
of a lot of great work done, and I'm looking forward to hearing further developments.
Plenty more to come, I'm sure. Let's hope so, anyway.
And also, plenty more people working with you, being ushered into to great things in the industry too, which is great to see. So hopefully we'll look forward to see your masterclass very soon. Now, our next interview will be in a couple of weeks' time on the 14th of April. And we're going to be speaking to Connor Farrer, who's at Restaurant Sat Baines. And he was the Annual Awards of Excellence 2017 Young Chef of the Year. So that's going to be a treat as well. If you want to view the interview again or any of the other interviews or masterclasses, they're all available on our website. So do have a look, and we'll get them out on social media channels too. So I hope you've really enjoyed today. And please spread the words to your friend and use hashtag AAE on social media. So do stay in touch and stay interested for the next one, which will be, as I say, on the 14th of April. If there are no further questions, I wish you all a very good Easter.
Hello, Richard.
Hello, Silvano.
Yeah.
What have you got?
I would like to say congratulations to Alistair. Fantastic career he got, and be still the same. And please come back for the MCA in a few years' time.
I've tried it once. I'll try it again. Don't worry.
Thank you, Alistair. That's very nice.
Excellent. Well, if no one else has any questions or comments, then I'll say thanks very much to Alistair, and
Thank you.
to the next one. Have a wonderful Easter, everyone, and goodbye. Catch you soon.